This is a response to some video on the anti-broadcast channel. Not quite sure which one I'll attach it to. As I understand it, the anti-broadcast is an idea for kicking around some of the issues to do with YouTube and online video delivery generally. You know, there are various problems to do with censorship perhaps, or free speech, or to do with DMCAs, or to do with, you know, the kind of features really, and what the end game of this whole thing is really. And one of the talking points that the Chad included with that is YouTube alternatives. I don't know to what extent these ideas are official, so to speak, but I do like the idea of YouTube alternatives. And by that, I'm not, to be honest, I'm not really interested in terms of YouTube alternatives in you know, alternative video provision systems like Vimeo or those kind of things. There are a few of those about, and they're all do the job and do it very well, but they're all at the end of the day corporate. They're all, in every single case, you're effectively handing over your content to a content provider, distributor, to do what it wishes with. And when you do that, I think you have to kind of bow to corporate logic. And at the moment, the corporate logic of YouTube really is that there's nothing wrong with it. You know, I'm sure 99.9% of YouTube users are perfectly happy with the service. If they did want changes, it would be the changes which are probably antithetical to the things that the anti-broadcast group, if you like, are talking about. In other words, you know, more like television, you know, make it more like TV, which I don't think is not what we're after. So I'm just not convinced that looking to corporations to provide a better alternative is ever going to work. Just to pick up on Gary's suggestion, if I understand it correctly, which is to provide some, which is, you know, to lobby for some kind of state-run alternative. I can see the logic of that in an ideal state, but no, on the other hand, it just sounds like a nightmare. I mean, I used to work for the civil service for a while, and I know how bureaucratic those things can be. And yeah, the idea of a kind of Pravda version of YouTube, or even a National Trust version of YouTube, or an NPR version of YouTube, it would be so laced in with regulations, it would be much more censorious than the current YouTube, I think, and would have to be just to make it work. So my suggestion, I don't think the technology at the moment allows this actually, but my preference would be a bit different. I mean, I've got, oh, I don't know, probably 1200 videos, something like that, and I keep them all on a 250 gig external hard drive. Most of them in MP4 format now. Some of my older ones are 3GP from a mobile phone I used to use to make my first videos with. MP4 format takes ID3 tags, so I could, if I wanted to, tag those videos with information like, you know, who I am as the maker, what the title is, or what genre that video is. I could tag it with keywords, I could tag it with some comments or content stuff, you know, I could tag it with all kinds of things really. And I wouldn't mind doing that. So what I'd really like to do is to have this hard drive with all my videos on next to me, not in the Google servers wherever they are, but next to me on the desk with all these tagged videos, and just plug it in and run the whole thing through some kind of peer-to-peer client or through a torrent of some kind. I mean, I know at the moment they're slow and you can't really stream videos effectively peer-to-peer, but you will be able to soon. And you certainly can with audio, or pretty much with audio. It's just that the current peer-to-peer clients and torrent clients are clunky and not very optimized for things like YouTube equivalents. But I can certainly imagine in 3 or 4 years' time a kind of version of LimeWire, or a version of one of those torrents, Aureus or something like that, where it has all the visual features of YouTube. You know, it has the screen, it has some related video stuff, it has keyword stuff. But what you'd be effectively doing is you'd be torrenting it down from people's own hard drives, or maybe from a set of hard drives, because once you've downloaded it once, you become a seed for the people to download them from. And sure, it'd take up lots of space, but who cares? Space is cheap. And if it's a good client, a little bit like iTunes even actually here, it would enable you to rewrite ID3 tags for your own videos in the way that iTunes does. So you could use that kind of feature if it was optimized properly to write in the kind of related video kind of content, so you could keep the whole thing dynamic. And in fact, you know, if all we're working with is content held by the users on their own hard drives and distributed and shared through the systems, then there could be competing clients. There wouldn't have to be just one YouTube, if you like. People could write variants on the clients that process the same information and present it in different ways. So if you wanted a TV kind of experience, you could get a client that would do that. But if you wanted something that's more complex or more relational, or more prioritizes conversation more and debate, then someone else could write a variant of the client that brings those features out. And yeah, that's all I've got to say on that. But I think a peer-to-peer client in version of YouTube would be a much more preferable option. Take the power away from a corporation, don't give it to a government, keep it with the users. Thank you.